wake up like any other day. You get out of bed, grab your phone, and start scrolling through your notifications. But something is wrong. Your bank balance is at zero. Your email is flooded with overdue bill notices. Your boss needs to talk to you immediately. You try to make sense of what's happening, but the truth hits you too fast. Your money is gone, your job is over, and your home is no longer yours. In an instant, everything you spent years building simply ceases to exist. You've lost everything. It sounds like a nightmare, but for many people this has been a reality, and even those who have never gone through something like this live with that silent fear. Losing everything isn't just a financial crisis, it's a blow to your identity, your stability, and your sense of control over your own life. Some, when faced with this reality, find themselves unable to move forward. Others, however, rise from the ashes stronger than before. But what makes the difference? If two people face the same downfall, why does one sink into despair while the other manages to rebuild? What separates those who collapse from those who carve out a new path? Is it just luck? Powerful connections, or is there something deeper, something most people fail to see? Throughout history, kings, generals, philosophers, and merchants have faced total ruin. Some never recovered, others came back even stronger. What did those few understand that allowed them to endure when everything around them fell apart? The Stoics believed that the answer to this question doesn't lie in what you have, but in who you are, and that's exactly what we're about to explore. There's a reason why loss is so terrifying. It's not just about the absence of money or stability, it's about what those things represent. In the modern world, accumulating wealth isn't just a matter of comfort, it's a source of psychological security. Having a home, a job, and a financial cushion makes us feel in control, as if these things were a shield against chaos. But that feeling can be deceiving. History has shown time and time again that what seems solid can crumble in an instant. The fear of losing doesn't come out of nowhere. It's carefully nurtured by a system that teaches people to measure their success by what they accumulate. From an early age, we're conditioned to associate stability with personal worth, creating a dangerous paradox. While we strive to build a safer life, we become more vulnerable. The more we depend on things outside of ourselves, the harder the hit when those things are taken away. And they can be taken away. What felt guaranteed yesterday can vanish tomorrow. Markets crash, businesses fail, currencies lose value, governments change the rules. History has proven that wealth and stability are fleeting events, not permanent rights. The question few dare to ask is, if this happens to me, what will be left? Who will I be when everything I relied on ceases to exist? Will I be able to rise again? Many people avoid thinking about this possibility. They believe that if they ignore the problem, it will never become real. But that illusion comes at a steep price. When loss arrives, those who never considered it are the first to panic. Without a plan, without an internal structure to support them, they become paralyzed in the face of uncertainty. For those who see the world as predictable and controllable, a single setback can take everything away. not just their money, but their ability to respond. The Stoics saw this fragility from afar. To them, the real problem wasn't loss itself, but the impact it had on those who never prepared for it. If you lean on something unstable, sooner or later, you'll face the risk of collapse. So, if disaster is inevitable, what separates those who rebuild from those who fall apart? What do some people know that allows them not only to survive adversity, but to emerge even stronger? If financial loss were just an isolated event, it would be easy to handle, but in most cases, the impact goes far beyond material concerns. It's not just about losing money. It's about losing the structure that held a routine together, the sense of control over one's own destiny, and often even self-confidence. When this happens, the problem stops being purely economic and becomes deeply psychological. The human mind doesn't handle sudden changes well. Our brains are wired to seek patterns and predictability, so any abrupt disruption triggers a state of extreme alert. That's why so many people panic in the face of loss. Not because the situation itself is impossible to overcome, but because it shatters the illusion of stability that their lives were built upon. When everything changes in an instant, the feeling of being adrift can be more paralyzing than the loss itself. Those who never considered this possibility often become their own worst enemies. Instead of taking action, they get stuck in an endless loop of unanswered questions. Why did this happen to me? What did I do wrong? How did things get to this point? But this cycle of questioning doesn't solve anything. It only prolongs the suffering. The fear of loss transforms into an even greater fear, the fear of not being able to start over, and that fear is what keeps many people from even trying. The truth is, there are no guarantees. No one can promise that what was lost will ever be recovered, and that uncertainty is what makes loss so hard to accept. But at the same time, this is exactly where the opportunity for transformation arises. For those who can shift their perspective, loss stops being an end and becomes a point of rebirth. The Stoics saw this mindset shift as the key to not just surviving hardships, but emerging from them stronger than before. They didn't deny the impact of loss, but they understood that how we respond to it determines what comes next. And this is where the real separation begins, between those who rise again and those who remain trapped in what they've lost. Uncertainty has always been one of the greatest sources of human suffering. Not knowing what the future holds creates anxiety, and that anxiety grows even stronger when a person feels they have no control over what might happen. The Stoics recognized this truth early on and developed an approach that didn't try to eliminate uncertainty, which would be impossible, but instead trained the mind to face it without despair. Zeno of Citium was one of the first to grasp this reality through personal experience. As a merchant, he relied on the stability of trade routes and the predictability of the market. But when a shipwreck left him with nothing, he realized the fundamental flaw in that belief. He had placed his sense of security in something beyond his control. As he delved into philosophy, he found a different path, one that wasn't based on what he owned, but on how he responded to what happened to him. This principle was carried forward by other Stoics, who applied it to contexts far beyond financial loss. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most powerful emperors, frequently reminded himself in his writings that everything he possessed could be taken away at any moment. The mental exercise of premeditatio malorum, the practice of imagining worst-case scenarios before they happened, wasn't meant to create pessimism, but to train his mind to accept any outcome without falling into despair or arrogance. The Stoics' mental discipline allowed them to face challenges without becoming prisoners of fear. Epictetus, for example, spent most of his life as a slave, yet he never allowed his circumstances to define his mind. He taught that true freedom doesn't come from the absence of external limitations, but from the ability to maintain inner control despite them. This Stoic perspective completely reshaped one's relationship with loss. Anything that could be taken away should never be the foundation of one's security. This mental preparation was reinforced through the practice of frugality. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, understood how fleeting wealth could be, so he trained himself not to depend on it. At times, he would deliberately live as if he had nothing, eating simple meals, wearing modest clothes, and experiencing discomforts that most would find unbearable. His goal wasn't self-denial for its own sake, but to prove to himself that he could survive with little, ensuring that he was never a hostage to wealth. What sets this approach apart from simple positive thinking or passive acceptance is its active nature. The Stoics didn't wait for life to test them. They prepared in advance. When Aristides the Just was unjustly exiled from Athens, he didn't despair or cling to what he had lost. He knew that his true wealth lay in his reputation and character, and that sooner or later he would be called back. And that's exactly what happened. This leads to one of the core Stoic lessons. The man who falls and rises again is stronger than the one who never fell. Loss, when faced correctly, doesn't destroy, it strengthens. It separates those who are prepared from those who never considered the possibility. The suffering that comes with downfall can be painful, but it can also be the forge where resilience is built. Contrary to what some might think, the Stoics didn't despise wealth or stability. They simply didn't depend on them. That's a crucial difference. True security doesn't come from having something, but from knowing you can move forward without it. Loss is unbearable only for those who believe they cannot continue without what they've lost. This mindset may seem extreme to those who were taught to seek security only in material possessions. But to the Stoics, any security based on external factors was an illusion. The only true stability was the ability to adapt. Those who understood this not only faced difficulties with greater ease, but also turned crises into opportunities. To the Stoics, every setback was a test that strengthened the spirit. What seemed like a definitive end to some was merely a new beginning for them. Once you grasp this perspective, it becomes clear that the real issue was never loss itself, but rather the relationship people have with what can be lost. Things like money, status, and possessions. But if this mindset is what defines who rises again and who stays defeated, how can it be cultivated? How can someone become the kind of person who not only withstands hardships but grows stronger because of them? This preparation doesn't happen by chance. Those who manage to rebuild follow simple but powerful principles. And most importantly, they take action before the crisis arrives. If total loss is always a possibility, the worst strategy is pretending it will never happen. Major crises, both personal and economic, catch most people off guard precisely because no one likes to think about such scenarios. But ignoring a risk doesn't make it disappear. Those who manage to rebuild aren't necessarily the ones with the most money, but the ones who understand that preparation must come before the need. Waiting for a crisis to learn how to handle it is like waiting until you're drowning to learn how to swim. Those who recognize the world's instability and act preemptively have a much higher chance of bouncing back quickly and efficiently. In a scenario of total loss, no strategy that relies only on money will work. What truly makes a difference isn't just what you own, but who you know and what you can do. When material resources vanish, your network of contacts can be one of the most critical factors in a quick recovery. People who nurture strong relationships throughout life often find new opportunities faster than those who try to rebuild alone. Beyond the right connections, another essential pillar for starting over is having skills that can't be taken away from you. Many people rely solely on a single job or source of income without considering what they would do if that resource disappeared. The more useful abilities you have, the faster you'll find new opportunities and reinvent yourself in any situation. This is what separates those who can react to a crisis from those who remain stuck. Those who understand the importance of long-term thinking also avoid putting all their bets on a single strategy. Risk management isn't just about cutting expenses or saving money. It's about balancing security and growth. Having an action plan for tough times is what separates those who simply hope things will work out from those who know exactly how to respond when they don't. But if there's one factor that truly distinguishes those who recover from those who stay paralyzed, it's their mindset in the face of uncertainty. The fear of loss can lead to impulsive and destructive decisions, like desperately trying to recover what was lost or falling into financial traps due to an inability to accept reality. In times of crisis, those who can stay calm and act rationally are the ones who find solutions the fastest. If you want to learn how to apply this mindset to your financial life, I highly recommend checking out Stoic Wealth: How Philosophical Lessons Can Transform Your Financial Life. This ebook is an introductory guide that combines Stoic principles with practical strategies for building a more balanced and resilient financial life. You can find the link in the first pinned comment of this video. Building security doesn't mean living in fear of the worst. It means being ready for any scenario. Those who prepare before a crisis will always have an advantage over those caught off guard. This doesn't mean avoiding every possible risk, but rather knowing exactly what to do when things don't go as planned. No plan can guarantee that losses will never happen. But a well-structured plan can ensure that if they do, you'll be ready to rise again. At the end of the day, true security isn't about never falling. It's about knowing you can get back up as many times as necessary. Losing everything may seem like the end, but in reality, it's just a transition point. What separates those who rise again from those who stay down isn't the amount of wealth they have. It's how they perceive their own ability to rebuild. The people who come back stronger aren't the ones who've never lost anything, but the ones who understand that loss is simply a change in state, not the end of the road. The biggest mistake people make after a major setback is trying to recover exactly what they lost, as if their only option is to return to where they were before. But this approach rarely works. What truly matters isn't recreating the past. It's building a new future based on what remains, and more importantly, on what was learned along the way. Those who cling to what no longer exists remain stuck. Those who accept change find a way forward. Every crisis is a test of resilience and adaptation. Those who build strong networks, invest in skills that can be applied in different contexts, and learn to manage risk wisely will always have an advantage, no matter the circumstances. The end, it's not just about surviving a loss, but about emerging from it stronger and better prepared for whatever comes next. Now, I want to hear from you. If you lost everything tomorrow, how would you start over? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Your insight might help others who are reflecting on this too. If this video brought you value, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content on philosophy, mindset, and finance. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, share this video so more people can learn to face life's challenges with wisdom and resilience. Remember, life can take everything from you except your ability to start again. Stay on the path to prosperity. Until we meet again.